All right, here's the chapter 10 test review. So hopefully you did the 5 lessons in chapter 10. Short chapter, didn't take long, and you was able to understand it, or if you didn't understand it, you can always email me, ask questions. I'll help you out best I can. I'll give you the answer key that has it all worked out for you. Only one quiz for this chapter. We just made one quiz to make it easy. This was a lot of questions. Then we'll make the test off the quiz. So here's the test review. Number one is on the test. This is a hard one because the X's are not counting by ones. That's why it's multiple choice, because here's the 4 choices they gave you. If you look at your 4 choices, here's the one thing you would notice. All 4 equations are different. 2x plus 1, 3x plus 5, 2x plus 3, 4x plus, and all this number here, look, this number here is the question mark. So they want you to find the equation and then use the equation to find y when x is 14. So we're looking for this question mark in the equation. Since all 4 numbers are different, then the easiest way to do number one is simply to do it this way. Just find the question mark. If you find the question mark, it will give you the right answer. So if you see, the x's are counting by 2's. So since it's a constant, it's consistent, it's increasing by 2's, then all you have to do is count the y's from 13 to 19. Okay, so from 13 to 19, it's increasing by 6. 25 to 19. 25 to 19 is also increasing by 6. 25 to 31, if you subtract these, you will see that all three are increasing by 6. That means if you take 31 and 6 and add them together, you will get your missing question mark, which is 37. And since 37 is a missing question mark, right here is the answer, means the answer must be B, y equals 3x minus 5, and 37 is the answer. So on your test, I made it easy like this too, so there's no trying to be complicated trying to find the correct equation. You know that's kind of hard. You just find the missing question mark and you will get the answer correct. So the answer for number one is B. 37 is the missing question mark. That's on test. Make sure you study that. Now, number two, not on test, but I just want to go over it. So it says, standing on a straight corner, you observe that in 6 minutes, 18 people went by. In 7 minutes, 21 people went by. In 8 minutes, 24 people went by. They want you to write an equation and let P be the number of people. Oh, so instead of Y must be, okay, so put P here instead of Y then. So P must be the number of people. Let T be time in minutes. So what you want to do is, if 18 people went by in 6 minutes, 21 went by in 7 minutes, 24 went by in 8 minutes, divide all three. If you divide all three, you can see that it's constant, it's consistent, that for every minute, there's 3 people went by per minute. So in this one, 3 people per minute, and this one's also 3 people per minute, and this one's 3 people per minute. Since it's 3 people, you know that 3 is going to go with T, and since the operation was division, you would do the opposite or the inverse operation for your equation. How you solve the equation is the opposite of how you write your equation. You solve it by dividing, so the equation will be a multiplication, so it's P equals 3 times T. If you do 3 times T, and T is time, 3 times 6, so if you plug in 6, 3 times 6 is 18, it checks out. 3 times 7 is 21, it checks out, and 3 times 8 is 24 people, it checks out. So if you did a division accident, just check your work and plug in numbers in there and see does it make sense. Because 6 divided by 3 does not make sense to get 18. So the correct answer is F. That's number 2. Now, number 3 is on the test. And I already worked number 3 out because it took a while and I was trying to save time on the video. I give you this equation. Y equals 13x plus 9. So there's 13x plus 9. I wrote it 4 times. Why did I write it 4 times? Is because they told you let x, use the x values 1, 2, 3, and 4 to write solutions. Order pairs are always x comma y. And so all you do is substitute in. So the first equation, I replaced the 1 here, 1 for x. So 13x, x is 1, so 13 times 1. 13 times 1 is 13, plus 9 is 22. Then I took the 2 and I replaced it here for x. 13 times 2 is 26, plus 9 is 35. Remember, order of operations, multiply before you add. I took the 3 and plugged it in here. So 13 times 3, 39 plus 9 is 48. Then I took the 4 and I plugged into the last one. 13 times 4 is 52 plus 9 is 61. So I got 4 different y answers because there's 4 different x's. Then I wrote them as order pairs. The x comes first. That's why I wrote this here. X is first, y is second. So here my x is 1, my y is 22. My x is 2, my y is 35. My x is 3, my y is 48. That's why it's 3, 48. X is 4, my y is 62. 4, 62. And if you look at the entry keys, you'll find the one that's in the correct order. So if you look at them, it looks like B is the correct answer for number 3. Because A, they're written in the reverse order. They did the Y and X. That's why it's wrong. And of course, then C and D, they wrote the wrong numbers down. Probably did the wrong order of operations. Now, that's how you do number 3 for a test. Now, number 4 and number 5 are both on test. And I did 4 for you because 4 just gave you an equation. Determine is 455 a solution to y equals 13x. Remember, x is 4, y is 55. So you just replace the y with 55, the x with 4. That means multiplication, so 4 times 13. So multiply 4 times 13, you get 52. This number is 55. Does 55 equal 52? No, the answer is not a solution, F. That's number 4. Number 5, they wanted to give you a graph. Here's the graph. Looks the same here. They want you to find y when x is 1. So we're going to find y. So we start here at 0. The x-axis goes horizontal, so we go over to the 1. X is 1. So we're going to stop there. Now we're going to go up until we touch the line. We touch the line there. Then we're going to go over here until we touch the vertical axis, which is your y-axis. And what number did I stop at? It's at y is 3. And so the correct answer is y is 3, which is A. And that's the correct answer for 5. Now move on. Remember, you can pause this anytime you want and analyze it and study it to make sure you get it right. Now move on to 6 and 7. 6 is not on the test, but I'll show you how to do a two-step equation. Remember, you always do the opposite or inverse of the subtraction and addition first. Since it says to subtract 2, we add 2 to both sides. So that goes away. 28 plus 2 is 30. The 10n drops down. Now, this is multiplication. Do the inverse or opposite of division. Inverse or opposite of multiplication, which is division. So you divide by 10 on both sides. This goes away. So n equals 30 by 10. 3 answers H. Now, this is a tricky one, number 7, because you can't do a reverse order of operations with addition and subtraction first. This is a special one in which you have to get rid of your denominator first. And so we know that this means to divide. So we do the inverse of divide by 5, which is to multiply by 5. So what happens is 10 times 5 is 50. This goes away. We moved it over here by multiplying by 5 over here. So the y minus 9 drops down. So y minus 9 is left on top. And now we're going to add 9 to both sides to get our answer of y equals 59. So the correct answer on this one is letter A, y is 59. That's on test. So make sure you move the 5 this way by multiplying it to the number over here, and then doing the opposite of whatever it says there to add 9 or whatever you might say in your test question. Because 5 over 5 is 1. It just cancels out. Then we get number 8, which is the two-step equation also on your test. This one you will move the 5 first because you can't move the numbers attached to your letters. Remember, reverse order of operations when solved backwards, so you subtract 5. It says plus 5, so D over 3 drops down. That cancels out the 0. 26 minus 5 is 21. Now, this means to what? Divide. So you're going to do the inverse of division, which means you're going to multiply 21 times 3, which is 63. So you just move 3 times 21. Over here, this will cancel out. The D drops down, so 21 times 3. It's always the inverse, which we've done this in chapter 2, one-step equations. Remember, fractions you multiply, side by side you divide, addition you subtract, subtraction you add. And so the answer here on 8D is 63, which is the letter I on the test. Number 9 is not on the test, but I'm going to work it out for you. It says the rule for a certain function is to multiply the input. So I'll multiply the input. My input's going to be x. You can pick whatever letter you want. So I multiply the input by 35, and I add 24. So I put 35 times x plus 24. Find the input when the output is. The word is your equal sign, 129. So then I just solve this equation. Subtract 24. That goes away. The 35x drops down. Because do the opposite. 129 minus 24 is 105. This means to multiply, so I do the inverse or opposite of division. That goes away, the x drops down. 105 divided by 35 is 3. The answer is D. If you plug it back in there and say, if my input is 3, 3 times 35 is 105. Add 24, I get 129. I get my answer, it checks out. Now, number 10, I'm going to do it two ways for you because you might have a shortcut way. Number 10 is the same question except for different numbers. It's on test. So the rule for a certain function is to multiply my input by 35. So 35 times x and subtract 18. The input value when output is your equal sign 122. So the first step is to add 18 to both sides. So 35x, that equals 0. 1e going to add here, so 122 plus 18 is 140. Now we're going to divide by 35 because do the opposite, or the inverse. That cancels out. X equals, how many times is 35 going to 140? And the answer should be 4, which is F. That's the answer. Now, let me show you a different way. If you don't like the equation method, you can work this backwards, reverse order. So it tells you, you know what the output is. You're given the answer. You're looking for what the beginning amount was. Like, what did I start with? And I gave you the output. So if you want to work it this way, you can. You just got to do the reverse order. It says the output is 222. If you read it backwards, the next thing it says is to subtract 18. So if it says to subtract 18, the opposite means you're going to add 18. So you always do the opposite of what it tells you in word form when you work it backwards. So the output's 122, go backwards. The next number I see is 18, and the operation says to subtract 18, so I add. Then working it backwards, the next number I see is 35, and it says to multiply 35, so I'm going to do the opposite, which is to divide by 35, and I get 4. Therefore, my input is 4. And so there's two ways you can do this. This is the conventional way with the equation method. This is just maybe just using common sense of working it backwards, saying if I end at 122 to find my beginning answer, I do the opposite. So instead of subtracting 18, I add 18. Instead of multiplying by 35, I divide by 35 to get my answer 4. That's on the test. Now, number 11 is on test. 12 is not. 11 and 12 are very easy. They just want you to write the solution on the graph. So you draw your little graph, or you look at your choices, and you find the one that has the dot on 13. Now, this is going to be a closed circle because there's a line under it. And so on 13, or 11, I mean, you look at the ones, okay, which ones are closed circles? C and B are closed circles on 13. A and D are open circles on 13. So you can eliminate A and D because it has to be closed because they're line under it. Now this says greater than. Greater than is going this direction to the right, the positive direction. So if it's greater than, it has to be B is the only answer that makes sense for the graph. Number 12, m is less than 4.4. Well, you put an open circle on 4.4. Look at your choices. They're all on 4.4. They're just a little bit above 4, and that's 4.4. You're looking for an open circle now because there's no line under it. So that means you're looking for F or H, and it's going in the less than direction, so you have to choose F. So it's just about just picking the correct graph there. No work involved. Now 13 is on test. So it's one-step inequalities. It's just like back there in number 6, 7, 8 with two-step. You just do one step. So it's almost like chapter 2, which we've done already. This is addition, so all you do is subtract. So Z is less than 13. So if you look at your choices, there's two Z's are less than 13, A and D. So it's like, oh, which one's the right one? Well, you gotta look at the graph. The graph will tell you the right answer also. So you know the circle has to be on 13. Well, on A, the circle's on 13. On D, the circle's on 13. They're both open. So it has to be A or D. Can't be B or C. So then it's just a matter of direction. So you gotta pay attention to direction. On A, it's going to the right. On D, it's going to the left. This says less than. Less than is to the left. Therefore, D is the correct answer. So don't go too fast and just find this answer and mark the first one you see because you would mark A and get it wrong. The graph and this has to be matching together. Now 14 is not on test, but with fractions, you do the opposite, which is subtract 4/5. You can do the common denominators and borrowing. If you really just look at your choices, two choices have 11, 9 tenths. Two choices have 6 and 3 tenths. So you know the answer is either going to be add or subtract. Well, since this has to add on the equation, means you do what? The opposite. So we're subtracting. So 9 minus 2 cannot be 11. It has to be 6 or something because you have to borrow. So you kind of do the answer is going to be 6 and 3 tenths. And this says less than equal to, so you put a closed circle and it goes to the left. But here's how you borrow if you want to borrow. It's like common denominators. It's 9 and 1 tenths minus 2 and 8 over 10 because it times it by 2 and times by 2 to get over 10. You borrow from it 9, make it 8, so 8 minus 2 is where we get the 6 from. This you borrow, well, this is 10, so you're adding 10 over 10 here, which makes that 11. 11 minus 8 is 3 over 10. And of course, 15 is not on test either. Only one test on this page is 13. 14 on test 15. This is division, so it's one step inequality. Inequality is just like chapter 2. If you see addition, you subtract. If you see division, you what? You multiply these two numbers. 7 times 2 is 14. X is less than 14. Open circle because no line going to the left. It means it's B. Now, 16 and 17 are both on the test. So 16, one step inequalities. That says to multiply, so we're going to do what? Divide. So some of this should be kind of easy because we did this in chapter 2. The only difference is now we got graphs to worry about. And we got to make sure the correct graph because look, they give you two choices. They give you 6 and they give you 24. So you got to know which one to do because 2 times 12 is 24. So if you do the wrong order and actually multiply. Just check your work. 2 times what is 12? Well, 2 times 24 is not 12. 2 times 6 is 12. Now you got to get the correct order. That's the biggest thing about this multiple choice is the correct order. That's on 6. So you know it's going to be an open circle on 6. And then if you look at the choices, they're both open circles. Just which one's going the right way. It says greater than, which means going to the right. So it has to be H as an answer for 16. And of course 17 is not on, well 17 is on test 2, sorry, and 16. Both these are on test. 2-step, which is just, now it looks like number 6. The only difference is instead of equal sign is less than symbol. So we do subtract 8 because it'd be opposite at first. 4C is less than 20. And then we do the opposite of multiplication or the inverse, which is division. So C is not equal sign. Don't do that. That's a mistake. Less than 5. And so when you graph this one, well, you know it's on 5. I mean, the choices give you 5 or 9. So you know it's on 5 or 9. So if you get 5, so you have two choices right. On the letter part, C is less than 5, A and B. Now it just depends on which way the graph goes. The graph goes to the left, therefore it has to be B as an answer. Now, moving on to 18 and 19. 18 is not on test, neither is 19. 18, you just have to divide. They say the cookies she spent was $15.30 on ingredients, and she's selling for 35 cents a piece to make a profit. So you figure how much do I need to sell to make more than $15.30? So if I divide this out, I get, and see here's other stuff, I get 43.7. You can't sell a 0.7 of cookie. So to make a profit means if you round down to 43, you're not making a profit because you're going to be a little short. So you got to round it up. So you got to sell at least 44 cookies to make a profit, which is F. Now 19, this equation is the easy one because they're counting by ones. You just got to figure out how you go from 1 to 3. So from 1 to 3, there's two options. You can go 1 plus 2 is 3, or 1 times 3 is 3. Well, you can start at 2. 2 plus 2 is not 6, so the addition does not work. 2 times 3 is 6. Therefore, you're going 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12. So you're multiplying by 3. So y equals 3x. Or you can do it this way. X times 3 is okay also. Now, number 20 is on test. So 20 is the one that's on test. It's the same thing. You're going from x to y, always from x to y. So you go from x to y. And so x is smaller. So 1, 2, 3. So it's going from a smaller to a larger. There's only two operations. That's either addition or subtraction. So 1 plus 2 is 3. Or is it multiplication? 1 times 3 is 3. Let's check the next one. 2 plus 2 is 4. Is 2 times 3 4? No, it's 6. So multiplication not works. Now we're just stuck with addition. So let's check the rest of them. 3 plus 2 is 5. 4 plus 2 is 6. Therefore, my answer is going to be x plus 2. And that's how I write my answer if it's addition by 2. That was on test. So make sure you understand. So your test question on this is going to be either addition or subtraction. And then 21 is not on test, but I want to work it out for you. It says 20 less than. Less than means 20 is less than, means smaller than. You just minus 20 here. 8 times a number, so 8x minus 20 is 76. That's the answer to A. It says write the equation. 8x minus 20 equals 76. Now to solve it, you do plus 20 because the opposite of subtraction. 8x equals 96. The opposite of multiplication is division. You divide. So for B, x is 12. And of course the last question is on test, number 22, and it's almost like that one with the rule saying if you do this and this. So I wrote the equation down and I'll work it backwards too for you. By dividing the number of houses x by 4 and adding 15, you will find number of houses in Hector subdivision. So this is going to be Hector subdivision. If Hector has 47, that's why equals 47. How many houses are in Antonio subdivision? So the first step is to subtract 15 from both sides. So x over 4 equals 32. This means to divide, so we're going to do what? We're going to multiply. So x equals, what's 4 times 32? 128, and that's my answer, 128. You can work it this way. You know Hector has 47 houses in his subdivision. If you go backwards, the first thing it says is, it says you're supposed to add 15. So we're going to subtract 15. Then if it goes backwards, it says there's a number 4, and it says do what? Oh, divide by 4. So divide by 4, we're going to do what? Multiply by 4, and there's my answer also. There's your test review. There are only 14 test questions on your test. So it's not 22, it's only 14 test questions. It's the ones I circled, like 22 is on test. 20 is on test. 17, 16 is on test. 13 is on test. 11 is on test. 10 is on test. 8 is on test. 7, 4 and 5, 3, and 1 is on test. So 14 test questions you cover for your test. And then just, you know how you've been doing, take the picture and send it in and we'll grade it. We'll grade the quizzes the same way and we'll put them on plus portals. If you end up finding there's zeros on plus portals, I put them in there so you can make sure you get the work turned in if you're late to help you out. Because if you put zeros in there, people say, oh, I forgot to do it. Make sure I do it. So that's why there's zeros in there. We'll correct anything that we need to. All right, well, thank you. Last chapter coming up after this. One more chapter to go.